I mean, District 11 is one of the safest areas. I mean, Venezuelans, Colombians, Cubans, Haitians, Jamaicans, and everybody else, Jews, Christians, Catholics, whatever. That makeup is what's going to make a huge difference in the future.
Cristhian Mancera is the chairman of the Community Council for District 11 here in Miami-Dade.
The district is so diverse that it makes it a very special area. Miami-Dade County is growing rapidly. There's a lot of people within our county that do amazing work, whether they are commissioner, community councilmen and women.
What is necessary to build those connections?
I think
with the people, Hello, welcome. This is Community Voices. My name is Marianna Gomez. I am a journalist, and it's my pleasure to receive today Cristhian Mancera. Cristhian Mancera is the chairman of the Community Council for District 11 here in Miami-Dade. Cristhian, welcome. It's my pleasure to have you here today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm very thankful for the opportunity.
I want to start asking you, Cristhian, how is your work in the community service? What does a chairman like you do in the Community Council? And most important is how the voices of the people count. How can the community of District 11 here in West Kendall go to those meetings, go to those activities you do all together, and make their voice count? How does it work? Do people really know what this is all about?
We have a community council that was set forth back in the late 90s to fulfill the gaps in unincorporated areas like District 11, where we don't have a municipality, we don't have a mayor, so we do have a commissioner, which serves kind of like a vice mayor for administrative purposes, and we needed a governmental body of decision making that represented the community, divided in sub areas, and that's when the community councils were created throughout Miami-Dade County, and they were created basically to serve those communities that are not part of incorporated Miami-Dade and that need that direct representation. So these community councils definitely serve a very important section of our communities and our population here in Miami-Dade County. And I'm very proud and honored to serve the community. This is the going into the third year of my serving as your community councilman, and learning a lot of experiences, learning things about the community, and serving has been one of my best experiences thus far in terms of political administrative positions.
What are those most important topics and the most important decisions that can be made at a community level of government?
We do deal with decisions that have to deal with planning, zoning, but let's just make the examples so people understand what that means. Like, for example, we have a lot that is empty. A developer wants to build, for example, a housing facility for seniors, and this can be a 3-story building, 4-story building with parking lot, access from different streets, for example. But these decisions sometimes impact the community because we have neighborhoods where we have very stretched or narrow entrances both in and out. And that can create issues for communities where building a facility like this, where you have family coming in, you have medical staff coming in throughout the day, then they require us to make decisions whether we would allow that project, that build, to go through. And the community has the opportunity to come to the community council, have their voices heard, and that allows that direct representation, because if I'm spending $500,000, $600,000 on a home, and I'm not able to come in or come out on a regular basis because traffic becomes a problem, then those are the decisions that the community wants, in this case, the community council, to decide on. But it's not always about preventing a project or a developer from, building something. It's also about listening to the community and also listening to the developer so that we make decisions that affect the community fairly wisely. So, for example, maybe the assisted facility, for example, will bring jobs to the community. It's not always about how it's going to impact traffic, but it's also how it's going to impact the community as a whole. So the community council does play a very important role. And one of the things that I've done since my election has been definitely doing a lot of pedagogical work in terms of teaching the community why those hearings and those sessions are so important, because it's just like, you have a council in Doral, the community council in West Kendall is the same thing. It's just that it's in an incorporated area. And we obviously, instead of having a mayor, we have a commissioner. But that whole concept is very important because we are always in very direct connection with the community we serve.
Do people know they could be heard if they go to those sessions?
Yeah,
those
I mean,
meetings?
this is like a typical county commission meeting where the item is posted. People have the opportunity to go. It is actually published before in the local media, newspapers, just as like a regular hearing for the county commission. The deal is that the participation of the community is not as we would hope, because people are working, people have 2 or 3 jobs, and sometimes people kind of like say, what is that? What is that community council, and how does that like affect me? And they don't realize that going to those hearings sometimes is the ability to connect with the developer who is going to undertake the mission, for example, to develop some type of infrastructure, develop a road, develop a housing facility or a condominium, for example. And then in those sessions, the community has the opportunity to be heard. So it is very important for the community to connect, but usually most people don't realize it, or they don't get notified, and they're always complaining, well, I didn't get notified. But then the issue is not that they don't get notified. The county does notify via like newspapers and local media, but then people are not consuming those sources, or they're just not paying attention, or they have the mentality that all politicians are the same and they don't want to be like involved. But the reality is that not all politicians are the same. There's a lot of people within our county that do amazing work, whether they are commissioner, community councilmen and women for different cities in incorporated Miami-Dade. So it's about connecting with those local officials, knowing their names, going to the sessions, and if you want to attend the session, you're free to go. That they're open to the public.
What is necessary to build those connections
I think
with the people? I mean, maybe the media right now is not enough. The community media is not enough. It's a very, very short ecosystem.
correct.
Maybe we need to do more. That includes me, maybe. But we're doing things like this, to for the people to receive all the information they need. What could we do?
Well, I think the media, the local media, I think focuses a lot on, let's say like who gets shot, who ran a stop sign and then slammed into a home, who got, shot in a robbery, blah, blah, blah. And we're always focusing on those items. But when the community, for example, reaches out for, being heard, something happens. For example, things that come to the community council, like there's going to be a new building or project to build homes or condominiums, and this will affect traffic, for example. Then the media doesn't really cover this because the media has a tendency to believe that community councils are not really important, so they focus only on commissioners, and they should, by the way, but they also should focus on local community councils that do have a very important role. And I think that what's being done today is, I think this is an ongoing effort by different journalists, locally speaking, that are, publishing information, dedicating themselves to visualize or to kind of like give life to areas in our county that need that light, that light to be shed on their activities, so that the people or the community, the voice of the community is heard. And I think it's still an ongoing challenge, but I think that we're working very hard in making sure that, you repeat it over and over and over, and then people begin to say, what is that? What is West Kendall? And why is West Kendall interesting? And who is that guy who's always talking about the community council? And it's not only me. I mean, we have other six, community councilmen that it's a boys' club, not a woman's in the group. So it is a community council man group, but it is interesting because we have very good people there, and they all represent the community, and everybody should know who their board members are.
How much does national politics shape what happens at the local level? Are you seeing that same level of polarization that is going on in national politics?
The position, for example, is not political in terms of that we're not bound by any political party, first of all. So our capacity is to represent the community. There is a nonpartisan position, the one I hold, and also the mayor, the commissioners, and all councilmen and councilwomen are nonpartisan. Now, every single elected official, is either a Democrat, a Republican, or independent. That's a different story how you are registered and what type of affiliation you have, ideologically speaking. But in reality, if you pay attention, the immigration topic has had a huge impact locally speaking, and those are issues that are spoken nationally, but they do have an impact locally. And our restaurants, for example, have seen a drop in restaurant goers, people buying food, people going out during the weekend, events. Now, that being said, we also have to acknowledge that we have had a huge intake of immigrants that came in illegally through that wave of open door policy that we had with the prior administration. And unfortunately, that has led today for the federal government to make adjustments that definitely have affected many people in our community. So when I approach these topics, which are national interest, but also local interest, I try to do it from a pedagogical standpoint. I always try to explain to people that it depends greatly how you came to the country. If you came to the country legally or illegally, what options do you have? What alternatives do you have? But also trying to emphasize the fact that the law, which is a federal law, is being applied. That nothing is being done, with, let's say, with surprises. And the law is being applied, and some people benefit from the application of the law, and some people unfortunately do not because they just don't have the legal standing to be in the United States. And that is something that is very difficult for our community to grasp and to understand that, hey, I want to stay, and I understand, yeah, I know you want to stay. This is a great country, but at the same time, we also have to try to explain to our community that it's just not about you wanting to stay. It's about you having the grounds or the legal standing for you to go, in front of an immigration judge and say, you know what, this is my asylum case, but if my asylum case is not really, accepted or you don't think is viable, I also have some other options to stay for your consideration. And then you get into that whole discussion, but everybody is focused nationally thinking, oh, well, the president this or the Congress this. But in reality, what really affects us locally is how those national topics affect our community. And I have seen it with many local restaurants that pay taxes here, that belong to District 11, that have been here for years. And now they have seen a considerable drop because that population that used to go there, we have something here that, that's very popular, La Cantina.
Yes.
So these are, regular foods, like, I guess, portions that people buy for lunch. They go to these restaurants. Sometimes they even order it every week. There's a drop in that because you don't have that many workers demanding that. So that drops, obviously, the income for these restaurants. But these restaurants, at the same time, the owners of these restaurants are community members. They've been living here in District 11 and Area 11 for 30, 25 years, 15 years, building their completely, legal entrepreneurs, people that have U.S. citizenship, So the national impact of many topics, when they become local, is when you begin to feel the pitch, or someone calls you and tells you, hey, you know what, like an important member of our community was just picked up, or because they have an pending asylum case, or they were deported. And then you begin to feel something that those members of the community, whether they're Colombian, Venezuelan, Cuban, Mexican, that are building community, that are always participating in activities and events and things. Hey, what happened to Pedro? Oh, he was deported, and then you understand the legality of it and you understand that something had to happen for him to be removed, but at the same time, it hurts because these are people that are also helping and contributing to the country. And most immigrants are, people who come here with a dream. They want to contribute to our country. But unfortunately, the law is the law, and when it is applied, there's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. But those are topics that do affect our community. We have such an amazing, I would say, makeup of what makes District 11, especially this area of West Kendall. You have Cuban Americans that have been living here for a long time, that came either in the 70s, 80s, that began to build these communities along the time when many Colombians came during that late 70s and early 80s, and together began to develop these areas and condominiums of West Kendall. And for most people, these used to be like horse country or farmland, and it has turned into a very important area for development here in Miami-Dade County. So you have that wave, then you have the wave of Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, Salvadorians, and then obviously you have the people who have been here who are also make up our district, which are Native Indians or like indigenous people, which also are part of our district. You have people who are like Anglo Americans, which obviously have been here for a while. You also get Jamaicans, Haitians. So the district is so diverse that it makes it a very special area. But since it is developing, it is changing because Miami-Dade County is growing rapidly, then I think people still reminisce of the fact that, I want this to stay the way it is, like very green, very horse country, very farmland. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case in the next few years, where we're going to have to evaluate how we move forward, how we expand. But that makeup that I am describing of Venezuelans, Colombians, Cubans, Haitians, Jamaicans, and everybody else, Jews, Christians, Catholics, whatever, that makeup is what's going to make a huge difference in the future. Our restaurants, our places to go and have fun, parks, the way we interact with each other, the way our public school system and charter schools also interact with our children. So I think the whole district is amazing and it's thriving. So I've been meeting and interviewing many restaurants from different areas or like diverse communities. And I mean, we have like barbecue places. We have Cuban restaurants that serve amazing food in terms of beef is concerned. We also have Argentinian steakhouses here in our district. I forgot to mention the Argentinians. They're not going to get me, in trouble.
Yeah.
There's a huge community here also. So at the end of the day, you have Venezuelan restaurants. So West Kendall has been developing, and kind of like my objective has been to create an identity of the people who live in this area. For us to kind of like say, I feel proud to be part of West Kendall because you can find whatever you want here. And we need to move forward, not only in terms of like having options for entertainment, but also that the county can provide better parks and better places for the families to go on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday to spend their weekend, and so that they don't have to drive outside our district. So I think as a whole, we have a very thriving, exciting, diverse community that will continue to contribute to the growth of this county.
Is it safe, District 11?
Yeah,
in terms of
like
personal
security. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, District 11 is one of the safest areas. I mean, we have some small crime going on in some of these unincorporated areas. I mean, you have a lot of violence against women. You have some violence inside the home sometimes, either because distressed parents or whatever. This type of violence does happen, from time to time. And we have some level at a short, let's say, number of human trafficking, and that is something that the county and every security force here in our state has been fighting, not only here in West Kendall but in different areas. But the answer to the question is no, it's not an area to feel unsafe. It's a very safe area, very family oriented, a very interesting place to have a family, grow a family. And I think we have to work harder to make it a more interesting, inclusive area where people can be born, live, be raised, go to school, and at the same time, when they graduate, high school and go to college, they can also stay here and help continue to build this beautiful area and District 11.
Thank you so much, Council Member Mancera, for joining us today. Thank you for your time, and thank you all for being with us today.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure, always.